And welcome to Tuesday. We are back in studio, and we're glad that you are with us. And what a night in New Orleans. And we're going to have all the coverage for you and get your reaction today. Joe Burrow, his hands raised, and the national championship living in Louisiana. That was the front page of the Times-Picayune. Joe Burrow puffing on the stogie. I'm sure there's an NCAA violation there, and who cares? It was an eventful couple of days in the Big Easy, and last night was an all-timer.
Well, Paul, I guess we beat little old Clemson, didn't we?
Yes, you did.
While we're here, as we start this show, you were in New Orleans yesterday, right?
It seems like I was, now that I remember.
Mark Kubiak was in New Orleans yesterday, right?
Cubes was in New Orleans, yes.
So you're
make it
back
today.
Where's Coops?
He's got a better deal than I do, obviously.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank God for the transfer portal.
You're right.
Couldn't believe that just 2 years ago, here LSU was losing at home to Troy, and now here they are completing maybe the best season in college football history.
I'm a truck driver, so I was in my truck watching the game, and when Joe Burrow threw the touchdown pass to go up 21-17, I started screaming and jumping in my truck. And
hey, by the way, were you driving at the time?
No, I was at a truck stop.
Oh, okay, good. Just got my feet propped up and laid back, listening to the callers mostly celebrate.
You are the king. Well, you had a shorter night than Orgeron did. He said he at least got up at 7:30.
Yeah, well,
probably went to bed at about the same time.
Yeah, but he did have Popeye's chicken, and I did not.
Yeah,
so I think he won. I think he won the evening. I was at some place, some delicatessen in New York this year, and the guy brought me a buttered toasted bialy, and I didn't want to eat anything else.
I think, from an individual standpoint, I think you could put what Joe Burrow did this year maybe second all time behind Barry Sanders in terms of single-season performances. I think it was that good.
Back, we are here, and a lot of conversation about Joe Brady leaving, a lot of conversation about OBJ. Just to repeat, Joe Burrow said in the podcast today that the money was real, but I don't know all the players he gave it to, and I don't know anyone else who does either. But if he gave it to players who aren't coming back and they kept it, it's not going to be considered an impermissible benefit by the NCAA's antiquated rule book. If he gave it to an underclassman that is coming back, it would potentially be considered a violation. Now, why the school immediately went and said that it was not real money, I don't know without fully knowing, but that may be the only issue we have right now. Let's get to Dean in Georgia. You are on the air. Hello, Dean.
Hello, Mr. Paul.
Hey there.
I got a question for you. Does the DEA ever bother you?
Does the what?
DEA, do they get after you?
The DEA? No, I have not heard from the DEA in a while.
Yes. You're kind of addicted is why I asked you that.
Oh, my goodness.
I was on once before, and I think I kind of teed you off. And then I got kind of teed off, and I said I wasn't going to watch you no more. But about a week I didn't, but I come right back to watch it because you have got a great show.
Well, I have to tell you, that's an amazing compliment, Dean. I appreciate you coming back. And I've never heard, I wonder, are we going to potentially be investigated by the DEA for being an addictive drug?
Well, I didn't say a drug, Mr. Paul.
Okay, well, I did.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm glad that the show is addictive without being considered a narcotic.
Yes, sir. Well, it's a great show. And as far as Brady leaving Louisiana, I do not care because I'm a Gator fan, and we have to play them every year. This year we lost to the champions and the number 4 team, so I don't think we did too bad.
You had a good year. Now, the Georgia game was close, and so was the LSU game. Dean, thank you for calling, and great to have you on. Really cool. Jason is in Mississippi. Hello, Jason.
How are you today, Paul?
I am well, thank you.
I told you I was going to call Tuesday, but I was unable. I did watch your show. It was awesome. I don't know how you do it, man. You're a tough man.
Well, thank you. Have you recovered from the festivities?
I did. I woke up about noon yesterday, and I wasn't feeling real well. And then I had to watch the Finebaum show, and then I played in the pool league. I had to go shoot pool last night. And I shot really good considering my condition.
Hey, tell me, how does a pool league work?
Well, if you're in a national pool league, you get a group of teams and put teams together. You compete, and then you hold a tournament so that you can go and play against the rest of the country.
Okay.
And it's actually a lot of fun. It's
so I'm guessing you're a pretty good pool player.
Nah, I'm not around this town. Not over here in Hattiesburg, man. I might be in. I know I can name 20 that are better than me around here, and it's a small town.
Oh, okay. Well, I gave you a false compliment then.
Nah, well, I mean, I'm just barely above average, but that's how my whole life's been.
Well, let me say, being above average is better than being below average.
Well, I agree with that one.
I'm below average at a lot of things, so my compliments to you.
I haven't seen it yet, Mr. Paul. I'm going to tell you now, I haven't seen it. Everything you do seems to be outstanding, so I wouldn't mark you anything below an A- on anything.
You've never seen me play golf.
Well, that's true, but then you haven't seen me.
Or play pool.
Well, that's true. Maybe someday I'll get around where you guys are and catch you out and get you on the pool table.
Well, you teach me how to be a better billiards player. That's going to be my goal. Hey, thank you very much, and you take care of yourself. I know celebrating can have a hazardous effect on your life. Gene is in Louisiana. Hello, Gene.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today, brother?
We are doing great. Thank you for the call.
Yes, sir. What about that game? Pretty good one this time, wasn't it?
It was fantastic.
I hope you enjoyed yourself down in New Orleans.
Had a great time.
Look, I have a question for you on the draft deal. How does the deal work whenever, like, Joe goes up?
Well, what happens is you meet with a bunch of teams, and you get some pretty good idea what's going to happen and where you'll go. Burrow will know whether he's going to probably be the Bengals' first pick. There have been some incidences where I'm trying to remember recently, but I know Eli Manning did not want to go to the Chargers, and they ended up working out a deal that he was chosen by the Giants. You go farther back than that, but Bo Jackson was the number one player taken by the Tampa Bay Bucks, and he refused to go. So
he does have another option than the first pick or whatever.
Well, once you get selected, you really don't have an option. I can't remember how long you're the property of a particular team, but you can't. You better work out that deal beforehand.
Oh, I see. So if he doesn't go with it, then he's kind of out there.
Well, but I don't think Joe is from Ohio, so I can't imagine him refusing to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, although I think I would.
All right. Paul, appreciate it. Enjoy your show, bro.
Thank you. Great to have you on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Tony is in South Carolina. Hello, Tony.
Hey, Tony. How you doing, man?
Hey, good. Doing well.
Good. Listen, I think it might have been 2 or 3 calls back. That guy, he lit a fire in me, man, about Joe Brady going to the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
I mean, if that ain't the most ridiculous, asinine statement I've ever heard in my life. I mean, has he even heard about Sean McVay?
Apparently not.
Like, come on, guy. Like, come on, man. And teach Cam Newton how to play quarterback? Like, that's just ridiculous. The guy just won a national championship. You're in the NFL to do one thing. That's to win. Doesn't matter how old you are, whether those guys are older than him or not, he's there to win. It's a business. The common goal is to win. I can't believe he's upset about that. Like, every coach in America, every coach, that's like being on your job, Tony. You want a promotion no matter whether that's there or somewhere else. So he's mad at this guy getting an opportunity to continue and pursue his career. That's just ridiculous to me, Tony.
Well, Tony,
I
Tony,
can't
let me
believe
see.
he said
Let me
that.
see if I can explain, and bear with me. I am on your side in this conversation. I think a lot of people, though, or not a lot, some people who only follow one sport don't understand the importance and the reach and the significance of the NFL. The NFL is the premier sports league in this country. I'm not going to go say the world because I don't understand all the soccer leagues around the world that are probably more important, but in a game of poker, the NFL does trump college football. Maybe not to fans, but in reality, it's a much bigger deal. And he came from the NFL, and I don't blame him for going back to the NFL.
I agree.
He's also with a really good franchise that is building, not just piecing things together like the Cleveland Browns with no rhyme or reason to what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, it lit a fire me. Paul, I listen to your show every day.
Thank you.
I never call in, but that made me call in today.
Well, I'm glad you did, Tony.
I called until I got through.
Hey, thank you, Tony. Great call. Really do appreciate it. Michael is on the air. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Paul. I'm a first-time caller. I'm calling from Decatur, Alabama.
Wonderful.
I am not an Alabama native. I actually live here because of my job, but I'm from Southeast Texas. But I work with a bunch of guys that are like sports fanatics, and they talk all kind of smack all day about this and that and the other. They know every statistic in the history of every team and every person. I'm just an average sports fan, but they always talk about your show, about they just can't stand it. I absolutely love it. I think it's great entertainment. I think it's the best of both worlds. You got the ignorance of some people and the genius of others combined on one show. With you leading it, I think it's a great show, and it gives me something. I listen to it every day, and I go home, I'll go to work, and I'll kind of just plant some seeds about what I heard on the Finebaum.
You know, Michael, I love people sitting around at work talking about how much they hate something that they pay attention to.
I know. I love it.
I mean, there was a long time when I didn't think anybody in America liked this show because everywhere I went, man, I can't stand your show. My husband makes me listen. I hate it. It's terrible. Well, great.
Hey, Paul, I love it. I listen to it every day. I just want to thank you for your show and what you do. And it's good for me. It gives me time, something to do during the day. When I'm really glad. I appreciate you.
Decatur's a really nice place. I spent a lot of time in North Alabama, so thank you. I hope you enjoy it up there. Call again soon. We are heading to a break. Much more to come after this. Is there cheating going on in the world? Oh, my goodness. If baseball, which was already an endangered species, has had probably the worst 3 days in maybe since the steroid controversy. It has been a disaster with the Astros crashing and burning, and now the Red Sox, and who knows who will be next. It seems like a Boston thing, doesn't it? Now you have a number of other schools. Guys, cheating going on in sports, that's a new one on me.
Especially in Boston.
Yeah, the Red Sox somewhat implicated in this Astros situation as well. So
I'm shocked.
Well,
shocked. The Patriots and the Red Sox would cheat.
It goes back to Rosie Ruiz.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway,
right.
Paul. So this whole thing with the Astros.
The Boston Marathon in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and Boston got beef, but we don't need to go into that here.
Well, everybody's got beef with Boston because they cheat at everything. But besides that, Paul, like this whole thing with the Astros and like gaining a competitive advantage versus knowing when you cross the line, it's because they're using the monitors, but stealing signs has been something they've done in baseball since the start of the game. So I guess the question is, like, when do you kind of know you're crossing the line?
The Red Sox going, I didn't realize it was against the rules.
Yeah, was I not supposed to do that?
Was I not supposed to use the cameras?
If I had gotten a memo.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, if you're sitting there, let's bring football into this. If you figure out after watching film of the big cardboard signs on the other side of the field and what those mean for the other team, is that cheating because you picked up on it?
Like if you cracked the code?
If you crack the code, At what point is there a line that you think athletes and coaches know that it's just an unwritten rule you don't talk about?
Well, athletes are taught to take it to the very edge, and if you can go over and come back quickly before nobody sees you, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's a competitive atmosphere, and I get it. And plus, by the way, these Astro players signed huge contract deals.
Right.
So everybody made their money off of it.
I do think this is going to stain a sport that is still suffering from the past.
Oh, it's. Yeah. I mean, you brought up the steroid scandal. It's not like that was 25 years ago. I mean, that was.
And before that, the baseball strike of what was it, 94? That hurt the league for a long time too. We are back. Our judgment expert, Ken Smithmeyer, joining us. Ken, great to have you on. Hope you had a good Christmas and New Year. So we want to, before we get to a couple of specific places, I want to ask you about this LSU season. And was it easy to predict, especially looking at Orgeron, who a lot of people disrespected and didn't think would ever be successful, and the coexistence of Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger?
Paul, I don't think, nobody predicted this. I think Ed Orgeron is one of the greatest examples that you'll ever find in any area of business, whether it's sports or regular business, of a guy who genuinely self-evaluated and said, what have I done poorly in the past that I need to improve? What am I good at that I should focus on? And he changed himself, right? When you go back to his days at Ole Miss, and then look at what he is today, it's kind of amazing, and you couldn't have predicted that. And by the way, these people, that writer you had on, what did he say, that the playbook is going to still be there even though Joe Brady's not going to be there? That's craziness. Paul, imagine this. Let's say that you and I live in New York, and I operate what is widely recognized as the best restaurant in New York and the most expensive and the greatest chef in the world. And the chef leaves, and you call for a reservation, and you ask if the chef's there, and I say, no, he's not with us anymore, but we still have his cookbook. It's not the same. It is not the same. There is something about people like Brady, and it doesn't mean that Brady's irreplaceable. Nobody's irreplaceable. But there's something about people like that who seem to get things. And they get things differently than other people get them. And if you could just write it down in a playbook, well, then Joe Brady could be a billionaire because he just copy his playbook and sell it for millions and millions to every team. But it's not that simple.
No, it's funny. I went to see To Kill a Mockingbird a couple of months ago on Broadway, which was the hottest show, and Jeff Daniels playing Atticus Finch. And I kept thinking to myself, I don't want to get there that day that the stars decided to take off. Because it's still the same play, but it's not the same play because the main guy is. I mean, I don't want to go see a major performer who has an understudy. Your point is good. So let me bring you to two guys who are not understudies. They are the main attraction, and we're talking about the new battle for the soul of Mississippi, Lane Kiffin versus Mike Leach. What do you see in both of those? We'll start with Lane, since you probably have a little more experience with him.
Boy, is there going to be a hotter ticket than the Egg Bowl every year as long as those two guys are there? I don't know. I'm still not sold on Kiffin, and I do not know him personally, so I don't have any inside information on him. But he just still seems to be that guy that lives on the edge from a maturity point of view. And it's entertaining, right? It's entertaining and it's endearing. But then you have to produce, particularly in the SEC, you have to produce. And it's the toughest conference in the league, and he's in a tough division as well. At least with Leach, you 100% know you're going to get Leach all the time. And he's entertaining too, but everybody says he wears on administrators. And I think he still has a lawsuit pending against his employer 2 schools ago. Honestly, Paul, if I was going to bet on long-term prospects for any coach that got hired in the SEC this year, I'm taking Sam Pittman because I think at least Pittman's stable. And I'm not sure that Leach or Kiffin is stable. Although, boy, oh boy, are they going to be entertaining as heck. There can't be more exciting news for a Mississippi-based sports writer than the hirings of Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin.
But I wonder, and they both showed up there under unusual circumstances, obviously. In the case of Leach, it was, as a management expert, which you are, the coaching search was almost impossible to watch. It was so chaotic.
Didn't it seem to me, as an outsider, that Mississippi State clearly had their eyes on other people? I had heard it was Billy Napier.
Right.
I had heard other names. But Paul Leach's name has come up in, seems like, every single search that there's been. Mike Leach's name surfaces. And so he could actually be a good fit, right? Because Mississippi State, for all of its great qualities and the years it had under Dan Mullen, it's not the number one destination within the SEC. And so a different kind of guy with a different kind of approach could be a fabulous fit there. I actually feel better about Leach's long-term tenure at State than I do Kiffin's.
Let me go back to Kiffin. You said immaturity. What else don't you like?
Well, I'm not a football expert, but, by all reasonable standards, Kiffin is outstanding on the offensive side of the ball, and presumably he'll hire people who are very good on the defensive side of the ball if he hasn't done so already. But, when you're a head coach at Ole Miss versus FAU, now you're going to make a lot of decisions. You're going to make them every day, and the cumulative effect of those decisions ultimately is really going to be what determines your success or your failure. And maturity matters. The ability to be reflective, not reactive in your decision-making, the ability to look long-term, not short-term, the ability to do what you think is best, not what feels best. And, I'm curious to see how he does in that regard. We're not going to know it in year one. You don't know it most of these guys in year one. But I just have some level of skepticism inside me. By the way, Paul, it's the same skepticism I expressed to you when Joe Moorhead was hired.
Oh, no.
Years ago.
Listen, I don't know anyone more skeptical of Joe Moorhead than you. You checked in with me, I think, as the interview was going on down in Gainesville 2 years ago, and it was as awkward of an interview as I've ever had. Not the one this year, which was equally awkward, but the one we had when Dan Mullen was in town. It was uncomfortable to watch.
And it doesn't mean Moorhead's not a good coach. He may be fabulous to Oregon, and he may turn out to be a fabulous head coach somewhere else again. But so often people miss. They don't value enough fit, and fit matters. And Ed O would be an example, right, Paul? Is there any guy in the United States at any school more suited to coach at a school than Ed O at LSU?
Will the success, and I know you've had some things to say about Dabo in the past, but will the success of Ed O and Dabo at the two premier schools in the country this year trickle down, or has it trickled down to other athletic directors who are going to be more willing to take a chance on somebody who fits in as opposed to simply trying to win the press conference?
Oh, Paul, listen, absolutely. Look, let's look at a couple of the moves that's happened in the NFL. You talked about the NFL a little bit today. Matt Rule from Baylor to the Carolina Panthers. And Rule is known as a guy who builds from culture up. And there's an old saying in business that culture always defeats strategy. So you have to turn it around. You have the greatest strategy in the world, but if you don't have an underlying culture that is the base upon which that strategy is executed, then when the pressure comes to bear, you and that organization will crack. So Matt Rule to Carolina from Baylor. And more importantly, look at the guy the New York Giants hired. They hired a special teams coach. And I don't care if he does come from the Bill Belichick tree, which, by the way, does not have a track record of success. But they hired a special teams coach. Okay, I don't remember that ever happening. And people have written about the fact.
But Ken, he was hired for a couple of reasons. They thought they had Matt Rule. They got left at the altar. and they were bidding against Mississippi State.
Well, they were, they were, but in the end, you know, if you look at the New York Giants, you can't tell me that Joe Judge was the only legit candidate that was left on the table. But I think that there were things about Judge, and it seems to show up in the interviews with him, that indicate to them that this is a guy who gets the culture that Belichick built within New England. That doesn't mean he's going to be Belichick, but I'm telling you, more and more people are understanding that if you don't have that guy who can build the culture, then everything else you do doesn't mean you won't succeed, but your success is going to be limited. And conversely, if you can build the culture, even if he's never been an OC or a DC, you can hire very good people to do that. In fact, I would argue that the best leaders are the ones who are removed from the OC-DC activities, partially because they have to be, because they're not experts at it. But the fact that they are removed makes it more likely they will make better global decisions because they're not down in the weeds all the time. And I've actually heard people say that about Dabo, that he may be overall not the best technical football coach, but he's good at the other things that matter in a leader.
Before you go, quick question, because we're short on time, but my observation, and you're the expert, it almost seemed like Nick Saban was one of the bigger winners Monday night. Dabo lost, which meant that we couldn't declare Dabo as the king of college football. He was on TV, he looked good, and because LSU was so great, losing to them almost doesn't seem as bad as it did in early November.
I agree 100%, Paul. All the talk about the decline of Saban and the empire in Tuscaloosa, I think Monday night everything got rebalanced in Nick Saban's favor.
Exactly the way it's supposed to be, right?
the world according to Nick.
Exactly.
Right?
Don't rule him out yet. Ken, always great to have you on.
I wouldn't. Nope.
No, as someone who has studied him and has been tempted a couple of times, I walked out of the Superdome thinking Nick Saban has had a pretty good night.
Well, look, Paul, it was this time last year that we were deifying the trio of Trevor Lawrence, Brent Venables, and Dabo Swinney, right?
Yeah.
And Saban was over the hill. Tua couldn't win the big one, and the revolving door of D-line and D coordinator coaches at Alabama finally caught up to him. Well, what are we doing this year? Should we now deify Swinney can't coach and Venables has been exposed and Trevor Lawrence is just average? Yeah, well, none of those are true.
Ken, my final thought, even though I was there, I'm still not convinced that Brent Venables was there on Monday night. But anyway, we'll talk about that some other time.
Okay, Paul.
Ken, great to have you on. As always.
Thank you.
One of my favorite guests.
Right,
thanks, Ken. One of the absolute favorite guys. He is so interesting to hear. We are heading to a break, and we'll hear from you at 855-242-7285 when we come back.
I really did screw up a perfectly good vacation. So I was down there in Key West, and then John Cohen called me and says, wondered if it'd be all right to come talk to you. And I said, when? He said, this afternoon. I said, this afternoon? I go, and I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then pretty much 48 hours later, we wrapped it all up.
Yeah, I was down in Key West a couple of months ago and looked for you, but you had already gone back to school.
Where do you go? Where do you hang out down there?
Well, I had not been there in a long time, so we were down at the end of the point. I loved it down there, though. I can see why you live there.
Oh, no, I'll take you around.
Okay.
I'll take you around. There's an outstanding place you need to go there, Captain Tony's. That's a must-see.
Well,
and
let's book that.
No, we need to go on a tour down there. Heck, you could do your show down there, same place Shel Silverstein used to hang out.
Really?
Yeah, they're Captain Shel Silverstein, Jimmy Buffett, Ernest Hemingway. I mean, the whole cast of characters.
No, I did a little bit of sightseeing, and I was thinking about buying the Truman House the next time I'm down there.
Oh no, that's pretty cool. I've been through that. President Truman used to have these famous stay up late at night and have poker games in there.
I learned that.
Yeah, the little White House.
So, Coach, when you're down there, because I remember when we were together on Sirius XM years ago, you were doing your hits from down there. How do you? I mean, it's kind of a crazy question to ask you how you relax, but how do you kind of let it all hang out down there?
Well, I got a pretty cool place that everybody. It's just a bungalow, but it's in the middle of. It's in the middle of a block, so it's pretty private, and I got a really cool deck, which isn't huge. It's got a pool that you can get wet in, so that if it gets too hot, and then it's all closed in and feels kind of jungle-like with all the plants, and so it's private back there, and you just. The the greatest thing about Key West is to do nothing, and then if you want to do something. You go walk down the street and you'll see somebody from somewhere doing something that has a job, or you just hang out and see what you run into.
We welcome all you back. Glad you're here. Great conversation with Ken. How about Ron up next in Washington State? Hello, Ron.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
So I just wanted to ask your opinion on Mike Leach going to Mississippi State. I'm actually a student at Wazoo currently, and I have mixed feelings about.
Well, tell us
his departure.
tell us what it was like to be in his universe out there.
Man, it was otherworldly. I was only lucky enough to make it to one game, but that one game happened to be College Game Day a couple of seasons ago. So just having that atmosphere with Mike Leach there was definitely amazing. But every time I was watching the game, I always felt our defense was lacking and needed to step up, and he didn't really set that as a priority. Just my opinion anyways, but I just want to get somebody else's opinion on it that wasn't.
Yeah, I think that Mike has always been dismissive of defense. If he tries that at Mississippi State, he will get run over quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Just because I know that's pretty much what everybody writes off about the Pac-12, how there is no real defense out here. So just going into a conference like the SEC, I'm really looking forward to it. And then, if I may, I have a second question about our new head coach. How do you feel about Coach Rolo coming over?
I don't know him, but I hear really extraordinary things about him. I think Wazoo has done well based on what I've heard, and I know people that know more than I do. Thank you very, very much. Great to have you on. Dave is in Baton Rouge. Hello, Dave.
Paul, how are you?
I am well, thank you.
Well, I was going to leave you alone. I've been busy at work, but then you got on the Miles Brennan kick, and I had to call and straighten you out.
Please do. I can't wait to hear this.
Well, no, I mean, the kid's been with the analyst that's had Burrow now for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out of Mississippi. He broke all Brett Favre's records.
Okay.
He's a Brett Favre protege.
Mm-hmm.
The kid will be as good a quarterback as the kid that took over for Tua at Alabama. I mean, he makes all the throws. He's got a better arm on him than Burrow does. We're excited about him. And the media is like, well, who's this guy? Well, they got him. Now, he was a Les Miles recruit. He came in, on that season where O was the interim coach, but they had already made the kid an offer.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a real deal, man.
I want to make sure I don't put words in your mouth. I mean, it's one thing to break Brett Favre's records. Are you suggesting he is Brett Favre?
No, sir. Now,
Okay.
you know me better than that.
Well,
Paul,
I mean,
but
listen,
I'm not going to sit on your show and let you.
I mean, you're
say,
acting
well,
like
I don't
you're
believe
acting
in
like Miles Brennan is
You
just
know
going to walk
nothing
right in
about it.
and do what no one has ever done before.
You know what? I didn't hear you.
I mean, you're acting as if Miles Brennan is going to walk in and do what no one has ever done before.
No,
and that's what
he's
Joe
a
Burrow did.
Serviceable four-star
Okay, well, what is
quarterback.
I've seen
he is not going to
Dave, slow
replace
down.
Brady. Nobody. I mean, Burrow. Nobody is.
Well, and my response is great. That will be good. But what does that mean in terms of sustainability? Good means serviceable means 9-3, 10-2.
I'm saying the next year, if LSU does 10-2, I'll be happy.
Okay, no, I agree. And based on what is leaving there today, that would be pretty good.
Well, and here's the other thing I'll tell you. The year after next, when the kid's got some seasoning, I think he's a pro prospect. He's a good quarterback, and I'm not going to say we're not going to try to get in the transfer portal to get some competition at that position. But, look, I hate Brady's leaving, but I've learned enough about watching O that he's sharp as a nail, and he'll fix this. It won't be an issue. We'll have a good ball club next year. And I am very grateful for the positiveness that you've had all year on LSU, and I thank you for your support. And, I used to watch your show because I could get mad at you. Now I watch your show because I like you.
Well, Dave, I appreciate that. I will be more than willing to sit back and watch the Miles Brennan show, and I hope he does well. I really do. I'm just trying to be real too.
Back to this. Last spring, I told you.
You did.
Watch out, LSU was going to roll.
I remember.
I'm not going to tell you that we're going to have the ball club that we had this year.
Okay.
But that quarterback kid's going to be okay.
I hope he is.
I really do think we're going to be okay.
I hope he is because Dave, I am now an LSU fan.
Well, let me tell you, all he's got to do is throw it in the zip code for Chase and that other kid, and they'll catch it. So he's just got to be able to put the ball
listen, even
up.
though they're losing some really good players, Chase and Moss are there, and I don't know who else will not be leaving, but they're
we're loaded at receivers.
They're still in good shape. I agree.
Positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Here we go. Season's begun. Let's take a break. More to come. More of your phone calls right here.
I've always focused on my...
Petrino hired at Missouri State. He had to beat out Art Briles for the job, and also 7 convicted murderers. Guys,
yeah.
When your selection at Missouri State, which I have no earthly idea where it is, nor do I care.
Great question.
Comes down between Art Briles and Bobby Petrino.
And Mephisto, the son of the spawn of Satan.
And I'm also wondering, was O.J. Simpson not available?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. You just don't care. If those are your two, you're saying, throwing caution to the wind, saying, hey, fine, we'll take the negative publicity, because the old adage goes, there's
no such thing as bad publicity.
It's almost like they leaked the story that Briles was in contention, so it would
this would look better,
salve the wound of hiring Petrino.
Right. This is a classic move that known to all teenagers across the land. You go home, you say, "Mom, Dad,
my sister stole a car.
I'm sorry, but we're pregnant," and they're like, "What? What? How could you do this? You're only a teenager." Actually, no. I got caught drinking at a party. But I'm like, oh well, at least it's not that. It's like,
it's a fantastic analogy. Well done. I mean, really, that was Springfield, Missouri, is where Missouri State is.
I've been there. A friend of mine grew up there.
Yeah,
nice place.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just apparently they don't care about image.
Well, in fairness, they're both really good football coaches. They're also both scumbags.
Right. I mean, look, football, they both have very good football minds, I mean, that's not, I don't think that's
What's the end game? What does it really help Petrino to go coach at Missouri State? Not,
Well, why is Jim Calhoun coaching at some, I don't even know where he's coaching, but he's coaching somewhere.
That was news to me. I didn't know that.
Did you know? Isn't he got like a junior college or high school somewhere?
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock me, yes, but
yeah.
I guess it's in the blood,
coaching.
but
coaches like the coach. I've asked a million of them. They say, "Well, I just got to have the competition."
All right, but Jim Calhoun,
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Calhoun was not disgraced. I mean, he won a couple of national champions. He just likes coaching.
He likes coaching. Yeah. I mean, Bobby Petrino has been
Rolly
disgraced.
Massimino coached until he was 80 at some school. Yeah,
right.
If I had some of these coaches' severance packages, I promise you would never see
Art
or hear from me ever
Briles, at least in Petrino's case, he's apologized for his debauchery. Art Browse has never apologized for destroying a for nearly bringing a university down. Welcome back. I-Man is up on the program, and you are on the air.
Hey, good afternoon there, Paul Finebaum.
Good afternoon.
I was just listening to the bumper music. He's playing Born to be Wild, and I was thinking about Millie, up there, go-go dancing with Steppenwolf.
Yeah, how about
you don't
that?
Reckon she's throwing down right now, do you?
Yeah, Millie does not sound like she's having an easy time right now.
Yeah, bless her heart. Paul, congrats to the LSU Tigers, Coach O. And there was a guy called in yesterday, Bama fan, and you'll remember him. He said, I'd love if Coach O was our coach because Saban's going to leave one day. And you cut him off. You said, let's keep it real. You remember that call?
Yeah, I get criticized for that, but I'm not easy with false idiocy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna call you.
By the
out.
way,
Let's
just
keep it
idiocy.
real,
I'll take the false out.
Okay, I'm gonna call you out. Let's keep it real. And you said Nick Saban won the other night. Hell, he was wearing that jacket that he wears in that commercial.
Yep. It's same jacket.
He didn't advise his quarterback to get insurance. But yet he's advising some girl not to wear a dress because she's only going to wear it once or twice. But he's wearing a used jacket he got off a TV set, a TV location. I mean,
no. The truth of the matter is, it's Saban's got this highfalutin tailor down in Miami that makes his clothes.
Why do you feel so necessary to take up for him?
Because he needs it.
You was talking about you were so glad Clemson didn't win because they could claim a dynasty. Well, that didn't give Nick Saban one. When David hit Goliath,
well, the difference between the difference between the two of us is I don't wake up in the morning hating Nick Saban and obsessed with him like you do.
You wake up in the morning looking for a little Debbie to serve him.
No, I wake up looking for the positivity that I can find out of the day. I don't wake up and go, how am I going to allow Nick Saban to own my life today like you do?
No. Listen, I'm only commenting on a comment you made less than 15 minutes ago, so don't come in.
But have you ever had a call here, I-Man, that didn't talk about the problems and the vagaries of Nick Saban?
Listen, I called you out and you don't like it because I'm spinning better than you. Maybe you need an iPod. One of them iTide things.
One of those what?
That's what you need. One of them Tide Pods. You throw in the washing machine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe that's what you need, one of them, because it's obvious I'm spinning better than you, and you don't like it. I mean, it's just.
No, I see the difference between the two of us. I try to keep things real. I don't spin like you do.
I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real because I called you out for 15 minutes ago comment. I didn't wake up.
When was the last time you ever had a substantive call about your team?
War Damn Eagle. That's substantive.
Greg is up next. Hey, Greg. Greg, you there? We'll go to Greg one more time. Greg, 1, 2, 3. Are you there? What was that, Mark?
Oh, that was Greg's best call all year. That was great, Greg. Thank you.
But it's early.
It wasn't lightning, I'll say that. Let's continue. Brock is in Iowa. Hello, Brock.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today?
We are doing great. Thank you for the call.
Hey, I know you've gotten a lot of calls about Joe Brady. I don't want to be redundant, but I want your take on how you think his future is going to be in the NFL. The reason that I ask is because if you look at Joe Brady's Wikipedia page, just 6 years ago, he was a linebackers coach at William & Mary. Just 4 years ago, he was a graduate assistant.
Well, he's only 30 years old, so let's not be too harsh on his background.
You got a point. But, you make the big leap. The NFL was an assistant coach, big deal. Comes to LSU, and now he's a national champion, and he's the most sought-after assistant coach on planet Earth. And, I'm not trying to poo-poo the guy, I promise. He did a great job this year. National championship is something to be extremely proud of.
But let me ask you a question. Do you follow the NFL?
Yes. Probably not quite as much as college football, but yes.
Are you familiar with Sean McVay?
Yes.
He's 33 and he was in the Super Bowl last year.
And I heard that comment that someone made a couple minutes ago about Sean McVay, and you said it too. But McVay hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. He's been successful,
Well,
but I think he regressed
you know,
to the mean.
4 years ago, 8 years ago, he was virtually doing nothing. I mean, there's such a thing as ascending very quickly, and I agree that it's not conventional, but McVay wasn't conventional either. Now, this year he didn't make the playoffs, but he is still considered a wonderkind, and I don't know. I just don't like when people typecast someone because of their age. He's a brilliant young mind, and he was the architect behind this national championship.
Well, and I'm not worried about his age. I promise.
And by the way, he's only a coordinator. He's not the head coach.
Well, yes, you're right about that. I would be weary if I were an NFL executive, and thank goodness I'm not. I would be weary about hiring someone with so little experience. I would say that I would want more of a sample size.
I wouldn't argue that point, Brock, but and here's the great part about the NFL: if you don't like him, you fire him.
That's a good point.
You're not marrying this guy; you're only hiring this guy. Thank you for the call. We're up against a break. We have 2 more hours to go. I know you're happy about that.